Good evening. This is the New Dawn FM News in English, read to you by Dolores Salasi. First, the headlines. OBEC announces the date of the issue of the writ. Mary Remy, Acting Secretary for Education. Emergency orders violations increased. Schools in Bougainville to observe safety measures. An economic sector team identifies SOE orders that can be relaxed. Now the news in detail. The Bougainville Electoral Commissioner, George Manu, has announced that the issue of the writ to conduct the ABG 2020 general elections will be on the 17th of June 2020. The Electoral Commissioner told New Dawn FM that the Health Secretary and the State of Emergency Controller agreed on the time frame he issued to allow the writ to be issued on the 17th of June 2020 and the return of the writ to be on September 15, 2020. Mr. Manu said the full timeline to conduct the elections will have 4 days for nominations to allow all candidates to come and nominate. He said the election will be conducted during the state of emergency period, which means people will have to comply with some rules that will be applied during the election. Mr. Manu mentioned that the ABG Health Secretary has come up with some guidelines that everyone, including the electoral officials, will be following during the conduct of the polling throughout the region. People throughout the region will be informed on the guidelines of what measures to take once the guidelines are reviewed and finalized. The Electoral Commissioner appeals to the people to obey the SOE orders, the guidelines and the procedures that will be in place during the conduct of the polling to avoid the spread of the COVID-19. Meanwhile, OBEC has already received 5 million kina from ABG to conduct the election and is yet to receive 8 million kina. The acting secretary for the Bougainville Department of Education, Mary Remy, will continue acting in this position for a further 6 months. The appointment was made by the Bougainville Senior Appointments Committee under Section 33A of the Bougainville Senior Appointments Committee Act of 2018. The appointment took effect on March 16, 2020 and would be amended if a permanent appointment is made by the Bougainville Committee if 6 months passed. The appointment took effect on March 16, 2020 and would be amended if a permanent appointment is made by the Bougainville Senior Appointments Committee after 6 months have passed. The announcement was made by the ABG President Grand Chief Dr. John Momis and gazetted on ABD Gazette 23 of 2020. Meanwhile, another appointment was also made under Section 493 of the Political Parties Act of 2006. Here, the Bougainville Executive Council has appointed Mr. John CCSC as the acting registrar of political parties. The term is for 6 months and was gazetted under ABG Gazette 24 of 2020. The State of Emergency Controller and Police Commissioner Francis Tokura has announced that there has been an increase in the breaches of the emergency orders recorded across North, Central, and South Bougainville. He said in North Bougainville, there were a total of 18 breaches recorded in the past 5 days. And Central Bougainville had 4 breaches, while South Bougainville had only 1 breach. Mr. Tokura said most of these breaches were related to Emergency Order Number 19, which is the overloading of PMVs. He makes mention also that there has been an increase in normal law and order offenses across the region in the past 5 days, which indicates an increase in crime. Mr. Tokura appeals to the public to work closely with local community authorities and the police to maintain safety and law and order during the emergency period. A public appeal also goes to all vehicle owners and drivers to comply with the restrictions on the number of passengers they are allowed to carry. You are listening to the New Dawn FM News. In a media statement released from the COVID-19 Operations Command Center, schools in Bougainville will open under strict restrictions following safety measures. It stated that under education, team presented options for elementary, primary, secondary schools based on strict and full compliance of certain health and safety measures. Restrictions as in limiting the movement of teachers, students and public during school hours, restrictions on selling cooked food items at school, and having access to hand washing facilities in all classrooms and other specialized buildings. A team from the Bougainville Health Response Team will be visiting schools to ensure that proper facilities and preventive measures are in place before classes resume. The government has plans that are in progress to ensure that all sectors are responded to in the best interest and, more importantly, the safety of the people of Bougainville. The COVID-19 Operations Command Center has released a media statement stating that the economic sector team has identified certain SOE orders that can be relaxed. This is to allow businesses to remain operational throughout the SOE period. For instance, businesses can go back to operating from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. However, in order for shops to be allowed to be open during this time frame, they must be certified by the health authorities that the shop is in compliance with health safety standards. There are additional plans, including an economic stimulus package for local businesses that meet the set criteria, such as being registered under IPA, have a trading license, and being a member of the recognized business association. The Buka Eben community government also proposed to allocate a convenient temporary location that is open and suitable for market vendors to sell fresh produce in a safe manner that maintains social distancing. This has been the New Dawn FM News in English. You can also see our news on www.bougainvillenews.com, www.bougainville.typepad.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can also listen to us on New Dawn FM YouTube page. On behalf of the news team, I am Dolores Talassi. You have a pleasant evening.